Hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thanks very much for joining us for our New Zealand and Australia weather update. We're covering both countries really because the weather is so big and moving so fast at this time of the year. It makes a lot of sense. So at the moment, a large low in the Tasman Sea pulling down this subtropical airflow, which is why it was so mild last night for those in the north of the country and maybe other parts further south, but it was certainly mild last night as if the heat was already on in the house. But it wasn't. So the warm winds are coming down, and look at this, they get caught up in a low and then it gets spat out again and sent right down to Antarctica. Now that's easing today, that airflow right down to there, as the high pressure zone out to our east slowly starts to move further out to the east, and that allows that Tasman Sea low to move on through. And the other feature over in Australia, bit of convergence here, northerlies and northwesterlies all combining around the central part of Australia. We've got some heavy rain coming in around Alice Springs, but there's a cooler southerly coming in over around Western Australia. But in New Zealand, we've got some heavy rain moving in over the next 24 hours. And once again, it's in the Nelson Ranges. I felt like I've said that about 8 times this year. And there'd be other years that would go by where I wouldn't say that once. So we've seen a lot of rain coming into this part of New Zealand. We've seen the slips that have caused all the mayhem in the Tasman district. And I'm sorry to say, there's another risk again of more slips. The flooding risks aren't so high. The slip risks are high. Why is that? Well, already the ground in this area is naturally quite crumbly. The soil and the rocks are actually quite soft, and so it doesn't take a lot of rain to actually cause slips around the upper part of the South Island. So over the next 2 days, this is the zone here, just inland from Takaka, that's likely to receive over 100 millimetres of rain. And once you even get in around Nelson, you're getting about half that, around 50. So that's still quite a bit. So there could be some localised surface flooding, things like that, but I think slips are going to be another problem, which is a bit of a shame as they continue to clean up. Hopefully we're wrong and the rain doesn't cause many problems, but that risk is certainly there. When we take a look at the bigger picture, 5 days of rainfall, you can certainly see the Nelson Ranges jumping out down with Fiordland and South Westland. So that's why there's a little bit of an alarm bell ringing at the moment about that. As I say, hopefully on the border for problems, but there could be slips. Up around Taranaki, some heavy rain as well, getting up around 50 millimetres or so. Elsewhere, normal rainfall for this time of the year, even a little bit coming into eastern areas. You've got more of that coming next week. So let's take a look at the forecast now. So as we go through our Thursday, that mild airflow continues on, but is being pushed away. That low in the Tasman falls apart, but it drops the rain on the western side of New Zealand, and behind it, in come the westerlies. So those subtropical northerlies, they disappear. Well, apart from the Chathams and Gisborne, you've still got it across Thursday, but it does slowly move away, and behind it in come those westerly winds. Around Australia, windy in the southeastern corner and over around Tasmania, otherwise high pressure. As we get to the end of the week, we've got this small area of low pressure moving into the lower South Island. So a burst of rain, there's the cold front coming with it. It's not very much. So the North Island, you won't be getting very much on Friday evening, probably based on this map, which is lunchtime, probably coming in around night time. But the low here could produce some localised gale force winds down around that southwestern corner. As we go into the weekend, we've got low pressure forming around Alice Springs and a few showers down around the southern coastline. In the New Zealand area, high pressure is out in the Tasman. That brings in a mild airflow from Queensland and New South Wales into the South Island, so it's not going to be very cold. It might be a little bit breezy though here and there in coastal areas. Just as well, half of us in the upper North Island can't do anything, so that makes it a little bit easier. And as we get through into Sunday, high pressure's in control, so there's a good weather day to go out and have a picnic. And in the lower South Island, you got showers and windy weather coming through. And look at Australia. There's that rainmaker again for Alice Springs, which is not something we've been seeing, well, that we would normally be seeing so often. But this year, we've seen several rain events like that one. And there's a cooler change and a windy change just coming in around that southeastern corner of Australia. Next week kicks off with northwesterlies in the New Zealand area. High pressure up to the very north. Subtropical breezes coming down, very windy around some parts of the South Island though as that system comes through, mostly just through the Southern Alps. And there's that southerly and rainmaker moving up past Sydney, and the heavy downpours going on inland in the normally dry desert regions. And we've got a bit more rain coming through next week, another surge on the west coast with over 120 millimetres forecast in that 2-day period from Sunday through Monday. And our final map for Tuesday. Some wet weather coming into the eastern side of the country by the looks of it. We've got a low pressure zone deepening. If this happens exactly as forecast, and that's a bit of an if still because it is a long way out, still a week away, but if this does happen, severe gales from the south to southeast coming in around Otago and Canterbury, heavy rain falling as heavy snow up in the mountains and ranges, and a burst of wet weather coming in and temperatures dropping across the country. So hello spring. I mean, this is a classic spring setup. There is a lot of chaos at the moment, but a little bit of order to that chaos. And by that I mean a lot of the weather is coming from the west to the east as it tracks along. But certainly a couple of interesting features here to keep an eye on early next week in the east of both New Zealand and Australia. That's all from me. We'll see you again tomorrow, Thursday, with our next update.